All right, here on the MMA Outsider podcast, we are joined by Chico Camus, now a member of the UFC's bantamweight division. Of course, he trains at the now very famous Duke Roufus camp up in the Milwaukee area. But first off, Chico, congrats on the good news. When did you hear about it?
I heard about it maybe like 2 weeks ago. I believe a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. I was just driving in the morning, actually going towards my mother's house, and Duke called me and told me, because I kind of got banged up in the fight earlier than that, but I was ready to go. He called up and asked me how was the injury, and I said, I was cool, I'm ready to go, you know, and he said, can I fight in 3 weeks? And I said, yeah, I can fight in 3 weeks, and he said, well, we're fighting in the UFC, so we were actually taking the May 15th fight against Alex Soto, and we were in the gym training hard, and I ended up rolling my ankle pretty bad and had to pull out of that one, so kind of just waiting to get done with this injury. I should be good in maybe a couple weeks, 2 weeks now. Maybe about 2 weeks from now, I should be good, and I'm back in the gym getting ready for my first fight, man. I can't wait.
All right, that's cool. Like, one thing I can't tell you is I'm sure you wanted to fight soon, but you know, I live out here, and you aren't gonna miss out on the traffic. It's no fun, so you at least have that going for you.
Okay.
But yeah, like I know you have a pretty interesting backstory of how you got into the sport. I know you had a kind of a rough time of things growing up a little bit. Talk about what got you into MMA and how you ended up at Duke's camp in the first place.
Actually, what happened was I kind of grew up around Anthony. We were not really friends, but we knew we hung around the same crowds and stuff like that. And I ended up seeing him at a barbershop, a mutual friend's barbershop, and he was getting his haircut, and I overheard him talking about a MMA fight that he had recently had. I think this was maybe like his second pro fight, and I was listening to his conversation, and I was interested. I'm the type of guy I was like wrestling around with my friends and stuff like that, so I was listening to him, and I went up to him, and I asked him, I said, well, where do you do that at? Because I never heard of it, in Wisconsin, let alone Milwaukee. And he said that he was actually opening up his own gym and that he was training that Roufus sport, but he was opening up his own gym. So I came down there and trained with him, and I was pretty much like his punching bag for like a straight year, man. I was pretty much the only student he had. So he was just like working on his fights, beating me up. But I was actually getting better every day. But I took a beating for like the first year, and he introduced me to Duke, and then Duke fell in love with me instantly, man. I trained over there for about a week, and Duke said, well, why don't you focus on your career and let me take over Chico? And ever since then, it's been magic, man.
Yeah, and actually, I remember I spoke to him like maybe a year and a half ago, and he was already really high on you. Like I was asking him about who are some young guys at this camp that he thinks are going to be making some noise pretty soon, and you were the first guy that he mentioned. For you, you mentioned getting beaten up by Anthony in the gym. I imagine that happens to most guys when they start. But did you feel like MMA was kind of a good fit for you? Like it came pretty naturally to you.
Oh yeah, it's definitely changed my life. I had a rough upcoming, so. Honestly, I pretty much wasn't doing anything in my life. I had a 9-to-5 job, but other than that, I've had hopes and dreams of being a superstar or being a professional athlete in something since I was a little kid. And, baseball and me being a little older, baseball and the other sports, basketball and stuff like that didn't work out. So me finding MMA, at an older age, being out of high school and college and stuff like that was perfect for me, man. It was like a dream come true. And like I said, I always liked wrestling around and beating up on my friends and, stuff like that. So once I found it, I fell in love with it.
Yeah, and I was looking over your career wins. You'd beaten some pretty good veterans, and then I know you fought Jamil Masu, and I think after a win after you lost to him, you had another loss, and so that was 2 out of 3, and you've bounced back since then. But talk about those 2 losses, and did you learn anything from them? Do you think maybe it was good to get those out of the way, and work on some things that maybe you needed to improve on? Like how did you react to those 2 setbacks?
The Jamil fight, I took real bad. Jamil's tough, man. He's a journeyman. He's fought everybody, and he's fought all over the place. So, I don't know how many fights I was in my pro career when I was coming into that fight, but I know he had a lot more than me. But he's a stud, man. His technique's good, and he never panics. Like I hit the guy with some pretty good shots that would have folded a lot of other people, and the guy didn't budge, I could tell he was rocked, but he stayed focused and stayed on the game plan. I think that's what he pretty much taught me the most, is just game plan, because I think after I landed a couple punches, I started looking for the big shot, and it just took me off my game plan, man. So I think the Jamil fight taught me a lot. My second loss, out of the 2 out of the 3, that was I wasn't. I mean, no excuses, but I really wasn't myself in that fight. You know, like you and fighting is different than any other sport. You know, basketball you have an off day. You know, you just had one bad game. But in fighting, if you have a bad day and you ain't yourself, you know, you can wake up looking at the lights. And I just had one of them bad days, and lucky nothing. I didn't get knocked out or anything like that. But it just wasn't my night that night. I wasn't fighting like you. So.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Anthony, Eric Koch. I mean, there's a ton of great guys up at that school. What's it like? Not just training with them, as far as I'm sure it's some great sparring sessions, and you learn a lot from just working with them, and also Duke, of course. But what's it like? I guess having guys who are pretty far along in their pro careers who can kind of talk you through the ups and downs and kind of help keep you focused on what you need to do to get better.
Oh man, it's great. Them guys, they're not only other teammates, they're like big brothers. They let me know the ins and outs. So before getting to the UFC and stuff like that, they're pretty much schooling me now or letting me know everything to get ready for and stuff like that. But before then, just training with them guys and they gave me the confidence to let me know that I can bang with the guys in the higher levels. You know, because these guys are top-notch guys in both of the weight classes, and let alone they're heavier than me. So I fare pretty well with the both of them when we're in the gym. And the guys are studs, man. I couldn't say more about them guys. I mean, Alan Belcher and a lot of the other guys at the gym too. Everybody there. There's guys. The search hope that is. There's guys without names there that are up and coming too. That are studs. So working with them guys is, like I said, dream come true. Man, I couldn't have any better teammates than the two of those guys, Anthony and Eric, to show me the ropes.
Yeah, and I know also before you got the UFC call, actually, you were you had a couple pretty big ones in a row. That tournament that's being held jointly by LFC and Tachi, and of course those are organizations that put a lot of guys on the fast track. And you'd beaten a couple of tough dudes, young guys like yourself, who are probably just as hungry, ready to get up on top. So after those two wins, did you feel like you were probably just about there, and you were thinking the call might come pretty soon?
Yeah, they've been talking about UFC in my name or WEC in my name for maybe the past 2 years. So I was kind of stoked for maybe the first year, but I kind of slowed down and just let everything fall into place. I let everything fall in God's hands, and if it was going to happen, it was going to happen. I just stayed focused and took it fight by fight and kept winning fights, beating up proven opponents, and I got my call, man. My dreams came true.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, it's pretty cool that, since you're going to be leaving that tournament, that Sergio, it looks like, is taking your place. Obviously, Anthony's younger brother, another talented guy at that camp. How do you think he'll do with that tournament, and how close do you think he is to taking kind of the same steps as you?
I think he's just gonna do great. The kid's a stud, and he's not only good on the feet. The kid's good on the ground. I mean, I think the kid's gonna do great. I think he's gonna win. He's gonna win the Tachi Palace and do what I was left over to do. I couldn't say any more about the kid. He's phenomenal. He's gonna do great.
Yeah, and actually, since I have you on here, I know obviously you mentioned Eric. He just recently announced he's going to get his title shot, and since you spar with him, I know Jose Aldo is arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the world. Of course, it doesn't mean he's invincible, but how do you think Koch's going to do against him? Since you train with him, what do you think he needs to do to win that fight and pull off the upset?
I just think the kid needs to keep doing what he's been doing to get where he's at. I mean, the guy's only loss was Chad Mendes, and Chad didn't pretty much do anything but pretty much hold him down and control the fight, which is big in MMA. But, I mean, Eric was beating him up. I mean, Eric's dangerous everywhere. His wrestling's good, his jiu-jitsu is good, and his stand-up's good. I honestly think that, not only because he's my teammate, but I honestly think that Eric Koch's going to shock the world, man.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, like I said, look forward to seeing you in the UFC. I know you're a guy that people have been talking about for a while, so congratulations on that, and hope you get back in the gym soon. But before we wrap things up, anyone you'd like to thank, any sponsors you want to mention, go ahead and do that.
I just want to thank my family by sticking by me through all this, my friends, my teammates, my coaches, and Combat Corner, and that's about it. And you for the interview on the time, man.
Hey, no problem. We appreciate it. Hopefully we can have you on again soon, especially once that, that first UFC debut is put in stone. But like I said, we look forward to seeing you in there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. No problem, man.
Have a good one.